Hi there, I'm Jane Foy, and this is Aging Well in Virginia. Peace Frogs Travel Outfitters was established in 1993 by travel consultant and chief frog Julie Arbelaez, and she is with us today to talk about travel for seniors. Hi, Julie. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jane.
So here's what I want to tell you. The chances of my canoeing and tent camping in the Everglades again are zero. Zip. Did it, not going to do it again. But that doesn't mean that I might not want to go back to the Everglades, just sort of in a different way. And I think that's the whole key of senior travel. Do it, but do it considering who you are at the moment.
I absolutely agree. When you're a senior, it's the perfect time to travel. And work with mostly people that have, extra time and extra means to go out and explore the world and do all the things that they might have done when they were younger and maybe a little bit more adventurous, but they want to go back in a different way.
So that's where the guidance comes in. If I say I want to go to Egypt and I'm 70 years old and I might have a little gait problem or whatever, but we can plan something like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Trips today are completely customized and curated by traveler taste, traveler ability, how you like to pace a trip in general, whatever your abilities are, is really important. And everything can be customized to make a trip really kind of perfect for each individual traveler. And I think that's where somebody like me comes in, because the traveler mindset is generally a checklist of the exciting things that you want to do when you are going someplace, but you don't really think about how you're going to do all of those things and how much time they're going to take. And you also need to eat and enjoy some downtime.
How much activity can you cram into a day? Like, what would be some mistakes that I would make if I didn't get some guidance?
I think thinking about how you live in the world. Are you an early person? Are you a late sleeper? Do you like a leisurely breakfast? Can you not function without your cup of coffee? All of those kinds of things are telling in how you should plan your trip, because you're not suddenly going to get to Italy and become a morning person. You're not suddenly going to be somewhere and be out until midnight if you normally go to bed at 9 o'clock. So you really need to kind of factor in who you are and then figure out what you want to accomplish in any given day and work around your personal needs.
Using Italy as an example, if we were to plan a trip to Rome, there are probably 10,000 things to see in just that one city. So do we have a tendency to overextend ourselves or think we can do more than we can in 5 or 6 days?
Yes, yes. Every traveler, and Italy is probably the perfect example of people wanting to do everything and the list just being too long. You just can't possibly do everything and then also include amazing meals and time for serendipity and rest. And so thinking through what you absolutely must do and what you value in your travel experiences is really important, because it might be important that every day you're done around 2 or 3 so you can take a nap, because every night you want to have an incredible evening meal and you want that to take up a couple of hours. You just have to think through how you want to plan those things and then make sure you're allocating enough days in any given location to do the must-dos on your list.
And the must-dos have to make some sense in sort of in terms of timing. Breakfast, go see something, rest. You can't jump from one thing to another.
Right. You don't want a trip to feel forced. You're on vacation, and there's a countless number of things that we have already discovered and uncovered about places, which makes people excited to go to them. But then there's always all these cool niche things that somebody that is into a specific artist or a specific type of craft or a sport or music wants to layer up to make the trip really personal. And all of those things are going to eat away at the number of days that you are in any destination. So you might have to give up a museum in order to take a cooking class, but you might value taking that cooking class more than going to that museum that everyone says you've got to go to. So it is kind of a give and take with travel, because no matter how much time you have, there's a limit to it.
Right. Do most tours, we're talking about a week to 10 days generally, or do people go on much longer excursions?
I would say people that are very lucky get to go for a much longer period of time. And a lot of seniors have nothing but time. The issue becomes, once again, people have pets, they have obligations at home. Our seniors, and especially in this community, are so, I don't know, well-rounded and active. They want to get to their basketball games or go to their garden club meetings, and they don't want to miss Pilates too many times. You know, they have a life at home that's very rich already. And so I find that most trips are a week to 10 days, but we can always add days. I'm never going to tell somebody that they should cut a trip short because they're someplace else for too long.
Or the other thing is, let's talk about air travel for a second. The going to, let's say, Europe, going to Australia, New Zealand, or Japan, or further out, that's a whole other ballgame. But just generally, going to Europe, you're going to leave in the evening. It's going to be an overnight flight. That's the least favorite part of the trip for me. So how do I make it a little easier on myself?
Right. Traveler's anxiety is real. And then jet lag is also real. So you're already generally very amped up before a trip. You've got to pack all your things. You got to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. Got to turn off the stove before you leave. And that's all super stressful. But then the idea is you should get on that flight and be very hydrated, be ready to go to sleep so that when you get to your destination, you wake up and you're going to feel as good as you can possibly feel in a different time zone. And that's very hard to achieve. So the easiest thing to do is to know it's going to be hard and create a buffer that makes sense for you. So if you know you're going to have a difficult time sleeping on a plane, no matter what class of service you're in, you can either go to your doctor and get prescribed something that might make that transition a little bit easier. You can just, load up your iPad with great movies and just plan on sleeping when you get to your destination. You can factor those things into your travel plan. And I would genuinely, as you get older, jet lag is much harder on your body. And so building in an additional day to just get to your destination, not have a plan. You don't have to be stressed about catching a tour or catching a boat or any of those things. Generally, when you arrive, there is an energy boost. You're in a new place, you're looking around, all the sights and sounds are different. So that can give you the energy to get through that first day. And the idea would be have an early dinner, get your mind in a place where it can just fall asleep as easily as possible so that the next day when you wake up to start your actual activities, you're ready to go. And so I do think having a buffer day, even in the US, if you're going to the West Coast or beyond to Hawaii, is really nice to have.
Absolutely. I keep forgetting about going the other way. I mean, going to Hawaii, that's if you're where we are in Virginia, that's a long trip.
Yeah, it's just as long as going to Europe.
Right.
It's longer than many places.
Yeah. If you're not a monthly airline traveler, let's say, you make one trip a year or two trips a year, does it make any sense to splurge on upgrading the class seat that you're in when, like for me, the going to is the hardest part of the trip? Would it make any sense for me to upgrade to a more comfortable seating arrangement?
I think if you can, you should. If you can do business class where you're going to get a lie flat bed, you're going to have a better chance at getting some sleep and have a more restful flight experience. Your level of service is going to be easier. If you are delayed in any way, you have access to lounges, which can feed you and house you for several hours. So it can make the flight experience much more pleasant. Um, Premium economy would be a lower option, but nicer than economy. And then, of course, if you need to go in economy, I would say go in economy rather than not going at all.
Well, exactly. Now, what about specific type of tours? And I'm not going to talk about going by yourself right now, but are there tours for seniors? Is that a good idea? If you are a solo traveler, should you look into tour companies that accommodate solo travelers? Should you look at the demographic, the age demographic of people who buy into these kinds of tour? What should you look at as a healthy senior?
Right. So I think it goes back to that original part of the conversation is you want the travel to match who you are. And sometimes the age that you are doesn't match how you feel. So there's young seniors and there's maybe middle-aged seniors and then there's older seniors. And you all want to travel. We all want to go someplace and have an experience. But I think figuring out what your place in that group is can make a trip better or worse. So some trips might interest a demographic of seniors that is very active, that likes to bike and hike and be out doing things and has the ability to be a little bit more mobile. And I think figuring out what that group is the first step. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. If you come and sit with somebody like me, we talk about those things. What do you need in a day to feel good about a vacation? Do you need downtime? Are you active? Do you like to walk a lot? Can you do stairs? Can you, and we figure that out. And then from there, you can be matched with a more appropriate tour group or cruise line. Or, even if you're doing a private tour where we're curating each day privately for you, we still need to make sure that we're pacing it in a way that really maximizes the fun of your vacation.
Exactly. So it's not just going with a tour that's in your age group necessarily, but your activity level. Now, I have seen that in various tours where the activity level I think would be like low, medium, high, climbing Everest kind of thing. So, but if I'm just looking at that, I'm not quite sure what they mean by low, or I'm not quite sure what they mean by medium, but you would explain that.
Yes, and I think there is a serious issue between what a tour operator often is saying and what clients are actually experiencing. And I think getting some of that background, there's so many resources out there, and I think it's relatively easy to figure out, how many miles are you walking? Approximately how many stairs are you doing? You can figure out kind of a comfort level from there. But oftentimes, even the tour providers are generous in how they rate activities because they want it to be attractive to the most number of people.
Okay. And so that would be something that you would definitely have to look into. Like I did a tour one time and it surprised all of us one day that we had walked 8 miles. Didn't really feel like 8 miles, but if you had said that to some of the people on the tour, you're going to walk 8 miles today, they would have said, "Yeah, I don't think so." But we did it and it was between meals or whatever. So I think it has, again, more to do with how do you feel about what do you do at home? Do you walk regularly 5 miles a day? So
Right.
if you don't, you probably shouldn't do that in a foreign country.
Right. I think vacations are so funny, or leaving the country, we think we might be different than we are actually in real life. And we might sleep different, we might eat different, and you might. And it might be really successful and you might actually find things out about yourself that surprise you. But you also do have to be realistic. And I think being honest at the outset because there really is nothing worse than spending a lot of money, going on a vacation and feeling like maybe you're the slowest person in a group, or you're holding up your partner because you thought you could do something that you couldn't. It's not fun. I mean, why would you want to do that when you could be doing something that you were fully capable of doing and having a great time doing it?
Okay. And that's the other thing to take into consideration. If you're traveling with a partner, are you and your partner equal partners when it comes to physical activity?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. It's hard on a couple or two friends or a family. You're only as good as your weakest link if you're all together. And so deferring to that weakest link is often what you have to do, or you split up. If you're in a group and there's different options, you can split up for a day. If
If you know that that's the possibility.
Right.
So if you've talked to a travel consultant such as yourself, I wouldn't know that going into planning. I need someone to tell me that.
Right. So an operator that would be right for a multi-level group of people would be an operator that offers 3 different activities every day, or an operator that splits people out by group. We have 60 people going on the trip, but every day each tour is divided by the level of activity you want in that day. And you might jump from group to group, day to day. And then other tours are very strictly, this is the tour, this is what we're doing, and there is no
Not
flexibility.
too much flexibility.
And you do need to kind of know the difference at the front end, or you're just not going to be as happy.
All right, so let's talk about money. Let's talk about funding. If I come to you and I say, and we're using Italy as the example, if I come to you and I say, I want to do a tour, I want to spend all of my time in Rome and the surrounding area of Rome. I mean, you can spend an enormous amount of money and have a great time. You can spend not such an enormous amount of money and still have a great time. But
I deal with this every day. And I think, once again, it's all about honesty and communication, because you could have 2 trips that cost the same amount, but they were entirely different trips, where maybe one of the trips, they're spending a majority of their money on fancy hotels and lavish meals. And another trip might be more basic hotels, but they want private guides the whole time. It still could be the exact same dollar amount. I think figuring out an overall budget for a trip that you're comfortable with is a starting point. And then somebody can say, well, we can't meet your needs and wants with your budget. Or we can say, great, this is all going to mesh together and you can, make decisions from there. Or your budget might be well over what you actually are going to need to spend to get what you want. And then you've got all this free money to, buy goodies and eat lavish meals.
right.
I think it's all in the discussion of the trip and the priorities.
I mean, we're seniors, so we're adults. So we can kind of probably figure out, well, airfare is going to cost about this. This is going to be about. So walking in your door, I'm going to have some kind of an idea.
Right. There's fixed costs to a lot of things, but we're always playing around with budget. So just getting even back to that airline question, you might want a round trip business class ticket, but your overall budget for the trip might only allow you to do business class on the outbound. And then I might suggest, well, fly back premium economy and save the $2,000 there, and we'll apply it to the ground package. It's not to say, budget is incredibly important. To me, it's not my first line of questioning, because I think that the preciousness of travel and the fact that we don't have, at least in the US, we do not take long vacations like other parts of the world. And so those times are really important to us. And I hate to sacrifice what's really the most valuable part of a vacation, which is what you're doing, how you're spending your time, who you're spending it with, where you're eating, all of those things for budget. The budget will kind of fall into place
Right.
with some creativity. And if your budget is completely off base, we can talk about that too,
Right.
because sometimes that does happen. But I do think it's a tricky question because most people don't really know what a trip is going to cost, but they have a general idea of what they want to spend. And so oftentimes with the conversation of how what do you want to do when you go to Italy? What do you want to do on your Alaskan cruise? Do you want to, X, Y, or Z? Once we start that conversation and things start to open up, then a client, a potential traveler can start to decide what it really is worth to them from a financial
And I think
standpoint.
the way that we began this interview is the way we're going to end the interview is just do it. If you want to travel, you find a way, because when are you going to do it? Next year? Year after? If you feel as though you want to travel, do it. And I think getting in touch with a travel consultant to find out how you can do it and the safe way to do it as a senior is primo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago where we just talked about, that travel paralysis. There's so many choices and so many ways to make decisions and so much out there. And it does stop people from actually going. And sometimes it's just having somebody say, okay, you've got 5 places on your bucket list. Let's put those in order. Your next trip, you're telling me, is going to be in the fall. This is one of the best places to go in the fall, and it's on your list. Let's narrow it down and let's make it happen.
Right. I like that. Let's make it happen. This has been so much fun. Thank you for being with us. We will probably be back to talk to you about a whole other area of travel.
I hope so. Yeah.
If you would like to get in touch with Julie, it's Julie@peacefrogstravel.com.